looks like Gahel's on the call, which is great. So Gahel is the student who did the artwork and did the latest flyer on composting, which literally when I walked into town hall, it was flashing up on the screen. And it gets visually is so nice. I'm really appreciative of that, and I think it really it is so helpful to have somebody. Well, what happened there? Go away. There we go. Okay, we have Aisha. So Michael, want to make a motion to call?
Yeah, motion to open the meeting.
Okay, I will take roll call. I'll go in a circle. I'll start with Janet.
Here.
Okay, voting to open the meeting, yes?
Oh, I thought so, yes.
Okay. I vote yes. Michael?
Yes.
Aisha?
Yes.
And James?
Yes.
Okay. I hate to ask that, but can anybody take just any sort of superficial minutes? I have extra paper. I'm looking at you, Michael. And you can even just follow, a Word version of what Rachel does and just up to date us on it. And then we can be more complete next time. All right, so that's terrific. So I guess first we are officially open the meeting, and the first item on the agenda is welcome to the Stoughton High School students. We have Gahel there. I think Jennifer is from the high school as well. And then we have two students. If you want to come forward and sit and introduce yourselves and just say why you've come, and we would love to just talk with you about your interest in the Climate Action Plan Committee, your sustainability. So if you'd like to, our two students should be on the owl when you speak. I think the owl goes to you. If you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Amanda Fialio. I learned about this meeting because I recently joined the recycling club at school, and Ms. Kelly posted it, and I decided to join.
Wonderful. Thank you and welcome. And what grade are you at Stoughton High?
I'm in 10th grade, sophomore.
Okay, excellent. So that's great because you're somebody who could have a couple more years of activism with the club. So, hi.
Hello, my name is
Go right ahead.
my name is Kiara, and I'm a junior at Stoughton High. And my engineering teacher listened this on the homework classroom, and I was really interested in doing something during this summer, like the community.
Can I talk a little louder, or is there some way that we can hear them better? Or should I put mine louder?
I know it's hard to hear because you're a little bit soft spoken. But again, your name is it Kira or okay?
Sanford.
Okay.
Here, I'll put my volume down.
And you're
June.
junior. Okay. All right. So that's great. So we have two high school students. I don't know if Gahel and Jennifer want to introduce themselves as well. You may be on mute.
Hi.
Hi, Gahel.
Hi. I'm a junior currently at Stoughton High School, and I'm pretty active in the recycling club. I try my best to be pretty proactive about my actions regarding climate change. And yeah.
Thank you, and many thanks for the wonderful job you did on the flyer. Which again, it's the town TVs that's on that, and it's on. We sent it to SMAC and also to SPS News. That goes to I think all parents and families. So it's good to see your artwork is really being distributed, focusing on. And Jennifer, did you want to introduce yourself? Are you a high school student as well?
I'm a junior in high school, and I'm really interested into environmental science and anything about the environment.
Well, welcome. Really exciting to have so many students with us today. Just really quickly, the Climate Action Plan Committee was formed a couple of years ago as a town committee with volunteers who are here. We have 3 people who couldn't make it tonight, so we're a group of 8 to 9 people, tasked with drafting a climate action plan, which is a plan for the town to try to address the critical issues of climate change by reducing the greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change, and also sort of being prepared for some of the dangerous and extreme weather events that the world has been experiencing in the last several years, United States has experienced those. So whether it's flooding or power outages or things of that nature, or actually heat waves is also pretty dangerous too, sort of to have a plan to address that. So I'm happy to say we are working with a professional consultant who has drafted the plans as well, and we have some updated information about that. And I'm happy to send you actually, if I get email addresses, or I could just send it to, actually why don't I just go ahead and try to get your names and email addresses, that might be helpful, that we can, and anybody can send their email to the CAP committee too, and I can send you, we're working off a list of 88 different potential actions to take or to include in the plan, which of course we're trying to work with that list and I would say refine it and narrow it down. So I think I'm going to make myself a note to send a draft of that. Send the strategies. Again, it's something that's already been shared with other volunteers in town and with town officials at a meeting a month or so ago. All right. So do you guys have any questions, obviously, since you've come to the meeting and you're interested in climate change and sustainability? Do you have any questions for our committee that we can answer? All right, as the meeting goes on, certainly let us know if you do, or Gail has my email address, Ms. Kelly has my email address. Certainly you could email us questions or comments, and you're welcome to come to any meeting at any time. And I would just say this, just to reiterate with respect to the plan itself, the current timeline is to be working on a draft plan ideas, but to have a final plan December or January, and then to have some assistance in implementing the plan. All right, so if we're ready to move on to the next item on, we don't have minutes, so we're skipping over that because our minute taker was unavailable to present her minutes tonight. So going to the next item, which is the MAPC update. This is where I'm going to share some happy news, which maybe James has already heard the happy news. So our EEA grant, which has been pending, it seems like forever, but certainly we had expected a response whether we would get this second grant to help us back in August. And we finally got the response that yes, we are getting the EEA grant. Which is a $50,000 grant, which will be to pay MAPC, our consultant we're already working with, to finish the plan. So that means the town will not have to spend its own money to finish the plan. So that's a really good thing for all sorts of reasons, PR-wise as well. So that's good news, and Bill Roth is involved in that, in making sure that that new contract or whatever, the grant gets the proper signatures are there on the grant and everything. So we're really happy to know that and to have the support. And this is again, EEA is a state agency and Department of Energy and Environmental Affairs. We use all these acronyms and then people don't know what the heck we're talking about. So please stop us if we do. So that is good news. That's going to help, again, without the town spending money out of its own pocket, help take us through the end of the planning stage.
So, can I,
Please interject.
if you just want to remind me of a couple things.
Yes. Thank you.
What's the total that we're paying MAPC?
So the first part of the MAPC grant that they awarded us was worth $50,000. The EEA grant is going to be another $50,000. We had provided some interim bridge funding, and apparently $6,000 of that has been spent. So we do have the town's $6,000 invested, but the rest is going to be carried by EEA.
So the sum total of all that we requested from town meeting was $6,000?
That's correct. And if the timing had been different, it would have been zero, like if we had heard 6 weeks or 2 months ago from EEA, I don't think. But I think, MAPC came to the end of its funding, so it had to tap into the town agreement. But now, my understanding again, and Bill Roth was on the call, is that no more monies will be expended by the town because we're accepting the EEA grant to finish the plan. Does that make sense?
Yes, I wish there was some way we could let town meeting and everybody know this.
Oh, we'll let them know eventually. Don't worry.
This is nice.
Yes. Well, and I think let's have Rachel put it on the Facebook page, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And actually, there's an opportunity coming up actually Wednesday night there's a public hearing which I'll maybe talk to at the end, that maybe I'll just happen to announce that to people. So that's great news.
That is really
All right, so it's good to have the support. So the next item on the agenda, for those of you who have your list of 88 strategies. So what my objective, and I think our objective, was to, and a little, this is, some of these are overlapping, or maybe the town's sort of already doing them, was to get people to mark off the ones they're interested in. And I heard from some people, not 100% of the people, but I've kind of narrowed it down, and I did sort of my own tally and narrowed it down and even eliminated some of my own if I was the only one really interested in it. So I can tell you right now that people have a copy of their 88 list of strategies. I can tell you sort of the ones that there is multiple people interested in pursuing those. I mean, basically the point is to now take a narrowed list or a list of priorities back to MAPC. We're meeting with MAPC, I believe the 13th, and then they're gonna have another meeting with town officials and volunteers of committees on July 31st. So between.
Slow down 1 second.
All right, so we'll have our sort of twice a month meeting with MAPC, I believe is June 13th, Friday.
Okay.
MAPC and the town are setting up a evening meeting on July 31st for introducing the, I would say, draft parts of the plan, narrowed down or refined from this huge list, inviting town officials and volunteers on relevant committees. So last time we had that meeting, it was okay turnout, but it also conflicted with another town meeting. And this time, it should, in the middle of the summer, should hopefully have a little bit better turnout. So I guess it would be maybe a little tedious if I go over the 30 different ones that are probably still left on the list. I think it's helpful. I sort of divided them into resilience strategy, of which there's maybe 10 or 11, and then other strategies, maybe there's 15 that are more reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and some of them I sort of combined two numbers, because if there were two numbers that really overlapped, it's the same issue. Like, for example, 10 and 30 are both on EV chargers, and putting in the infrastructure so people can charge their electric vehicles. So that is it. So if people want, I can go over and just circle. Why don't I just go over and just mention the ones that I would say we're moving forward with. I haven't, anything that anybody checked off that they were interested in, it's on the list. So I'm not skipping anything out other than some of my own. So if it's helpful, I can give you the numbers, and if you want to stop and say, I want to talk about that one, I will tell you what numbers we're looking at, if that helps. Does that make sense, Michael?
Uh-huh.
All right, I'll try not to be too slow. All right, so number 1, number 3, number 4, 10 and 30 are both about EV charger infrastructure, so both of those. Number 11 was about advocating transit. That was just one person, but I've included it. Number 15 is community shared solar, which I really read that to be, I don't know, like some kind of public space that we have solar panels, whether it's a parking lot or a school parking lot or something, but maybe I'm reading that wrong. So I'm gonna put a little question mark as to what MAPC means by that, or what people interpreted that to mean. Number 16 actually has support, and that's about building capacity with the town to pursue grants to help support blah, blah, blah. That to me, I read that as that sustainability director position, like to put somebody into the town government. That's their job. And part of that job is to continue to seek grants and other type of funding to do the work that we need to do, you know, with the buildings and everything else. So there was definitely support for that. Actually, I want to go back to number 3 at the end, but let me keep going. Number 17 is about, you know, reducing emissions from the fleet. 22 had support. Why do I have 222? I'm sorry. Anyways, 22 had support. 33, which again is about the fleet of vehicles being zero emission. Now I'm just stepping down to 42, which was about heat pumps and promoting heat pumps as to heat and cool your house, which are can be fossil free. And 48 is about the trees, the planting of trees and the tree canopy, and I thought that's one that we might even want to expand because we've discussed support for an idea of 300 trees to be planted for our 300th anniversary. So 52 and 66 are on composting. I think there's a lot of support for promoting composting. 58, and this is one which might interest our visitors. 58 is about providing schools with educational resources and tools to encourage students to make sustainable decisions and behavioral changes. Can I just stop there and ask if any of our students want to comment on that? I mean, do you feel like you are being educated, middle school and high school, about sustainability concerns and about actions you can take, or do you feel like you have to go learn that on your own? If you don't mind me asking.
I feel like we do have to learn that on our own.
Okay. And that's a concern because it's a big, complex, wide-ranging issue. And I feel like we're kind of failing students if we don't address it at the appropriate age level. And you can sort of start small, but then, people at the high school level obviously know about climate change, but they may not be well informed about the impacts, what it all means, what they can do, what their country can do, what their government can do. So, all right, so that's interesting to know. So I thought 58, I'm very much into education on this issue. 61 was also overlapping a little bit. That's about the biodiversity and about the tree canopy. Oh, that was, two of us were interested in that. 63 was probably just me, but it's about support the expansion of local agriculture to increase food production. I just thought of that as translating into supporting community gardens, community vegetable gardens, and or if somebody wants to develop an actual farm, like they have an actual farm in, I think it's in Easton, which does, community agriculture. So anyways, I added that to the list. And then the last, on reducing emissions, which had lots of support, was about, hold on. Oh yeah, waste reduction. So reduce. That's number 65, and I can send all this to you, Michael, too, I'm sorry. Number 65, which is about waste reduction, and I know that's something which really a lot of people at Town Hall are very much concerned about, apprised of the challenges, and just to share with our visitors today, people who don't recycle or you don't compost, whatever, a lot of trash, all of us, send a lot of trash to landfills. They're running out of landfills in Massachusetts. They're closing down the landfills. They're not going to open up any more landfills. I believe the town manager said either that people are going to be shipping their waste off to another state. So here you are going to be causing pollution, shipping your waste to another state and putting the pollution there, as opposed to taking a serious look at how much garbage do we create, right? Is there a better way? So I think that's a strong one. I think that's also a very tangible thing people can get their minds around and understand. It's very concrete, it's very immediate. So I think that's a great place to emphasize our thoughts on that. All right, I'm going to go to just the smaller list of resilience things, and I want to go back to additional strategies, which anybody can suggest something to add that's not on the list we got. Any other ideas? But so under things that I put in the category more of, do we have a hand? Do you have a question?
No, you got somebody waiting to be admitted.
Oh, I'm sorry. All righty. Thank you, because I never. All right. Hopefully we're all in now.
I saw it. Scroll down. Is that everybody there?
That's our usual list. That's our list of people who have come in the past.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I
Gotcha.
It looks like everybody's admitted.
You just
There we go. So Angelica Barboso, who says outside, joined. So all right. And all right. So on the resilience adaptation type of response to climate change, which again is sort of being prepared for events. People were supportive of number 38, which is really looking at the physical infrastructure, which can make a difference to risks of, whether flooding or whatever it might be. 38. Number 45, which is about more green infrastructure. So for purposes of flooding, this references bioswales and rain gardens, which really can help manage heavy water and flooding issues much better than asphalt, which is, something like that is the worst thing that you can do. So, and it's also, you can be beautifying the town as well, or whatever the, buildings or places are, if there's more green and less pavement. So 46, that was about, vulnerability to flooding, and I put that down, but I would also say, and James can tell us about this, that I think that the town with its MVP study and also working with NEPWA, which is Neponset Valley Watershed, Neponset River Watershed, I think that's already kind of being done. We would just reference that. We don't need to recreate that work. So we'll put this under, like, that's being addressed through other work. So that's great. All right.
Yeah, priority in the community.
Yes. Okay. Good. So that's one of those already doing. Resilience strategies. There was also number 50, which is about demonstration pollinator gardens and lawn reduction gardens. And there is a little pollinator garden at the golf course, but I think that could be expanded. 53 was about resilience incentives, which are create incentives for people to have green infrastructure, flood proofing, cool roofs, things of that nature. Cool roofs, for example, the type of color of the roofing you put on could make a really huge difference as far as heat, trapping heat in your house. So that's something that architects are looking at that. Number 54. That's about helping other homeowners, like low-income homeowners and renters, about upgrades, including rain barrels and things to maybe protect yourself in a flooding event. 68 is really general emergency preparedness, increase the capacity of emergency services, and I would like to see that on the flooding issue and the power outage issue, especially if you have vulnerable people when there's a power outage, and then just the heat wave issue. 79, that's another issue, that's another addressing preparedness and potential heat waves. So that definitely talks about heat waves, and that would be great if that would be developed more, including having cooling centers so that when there's people without air conditioning, they have a place that they can go. 80 was food access. I know that Rachel checked off, she was concerned about that. I'm almost done with the list. And I think 81 was actually many people were interested in this. This is incorporate climate resilience goals and strategies into all planning efforts. So the open space plan, the master plan, whatever it may be, that people are aware of how you can design things that are more resilient in the face of extreme weather events, so that everybody's kind of on the same page, no matter what thing they're working on. So those are the list that people supported. I had mentioned this before, but I'm just going to mention, and I have maybe a couple others to add, and anybody's welcome to come up with their own idea that's not on the list of strategies that we would love to talk about. I mentioned before, I think there should be bike racks everywhere you could possibly, in other words, if you have a new I love to have bike racks for the existing stores in town, but at least for new developments, for all public buildings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can't promote biking if people are going to get their bikes stolen when they go someplace, because there's no place to lock it up. Anti-idling, which I might ask you guys to talk about. Is the Recycling Club working on an anti-idling measure? I know that have been in discussion about getting signs to put around the schools. Is that something that's still going on?
So I recently joined the recycling club, so I don't really know. But I can ask Ms. Kelly for sure. Okay, that'd be great. And I know that Rachel from our committee has been in touch about that issue as well. And
quite frankly, the signs aren't even that expensive. I felt like a while ago the club was going to try to do some fundraising, but I know this. I will tell you right now, within a meeting with the superintendent, he's completely supportive of having anti-idling signs at all the schools, because a lot of the parents come there and they just run their car for half an hour, which is really bad. All right, we talked about having some kind of, Earth Day or Green Fest event being a town event, that loads of volunteers support that event, but sort of having it officially to be a town event, whether, like a late springtime event that really brings people out to learn about sustainability. Hiring a sustainability director, and then I would also say I would love to see some rules and guidance on the town avoiding the promotion of plastic and handing out plastic and having plastic things. So whether it's town meetings where I've seen people hand out plastic water bottles, whatever it may be, that should be avoided. All right, so those are some ideas. And there, I will tell you, for those of you in the schools, there's lots more school-specific ideas that could be followed, including, specific school composting in the kitchen, recycling at the schools. Obviously, we've talked about the curriculum, maybe could use some work. And also there's one of our neighboring towns has a whole different system for its cafeteria, whereby instead of all that stuff that goes into the trash, like the trays and stuff, and I don't know, plastic silverware, that there's a service that comes, and it was written up in the Boston Globe, that it's reusable, and they come and they actually wash it for you, and then you return it, and they wash it for you, you return it. So apparently that can have a really dramatic impact on what's getting thrown into the waste stream. So that was a lot to go over. So I want to just ask anybody just to talk, even in generalities of, what interests them, whether it's general, if they want to go into specific numbers, or what interests them, or what do they think doesn't make sense. And, James, love to hear from you because you're the town insider, and obviously Aisha and Janet as well. Thoughts? James, I'll just give it to you. Any thoughts about the narrowing that I talked about, or about just general subject matters? Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I think Jennifer had something to say. I don't know, before.
I was thinking about the cafeteria systems, and this is something I've seen in different places. But instead of everything just going into the trash, they have separated bins labeled for recycling, trash, and composting, with specific examples of what needs to be put in each bin. And I feel like that would be a great system to implement in schools and other public places to just help with the town composting and reducing the waste we produce.
Excellent. And do you know of any other schools? I mean, I know there are, because I've talked to a composting company. I know there are other schools in Massachusetts that do that do composting and have Black Earth Compost pick it up. And is there any specific school system you're familiar with, or is it just multiple ones you've heard about?
Just multiple ones I've heard about and seen.
Okay. Well, again, I think that's something that, a multi-front lobbying approach. Certainly our committee, and but also the students and the families as well, saying we'd like to see this, and it's also preparing. It's sort of that education by doing. It becomes second nature. It becomes really easy to do it, to pay attention. Is this recyclable? Is this trash? What is compost? Why should you do compost? I think that's really great, and I would also tell you, I think the superintendent would be really supportive. I think it's just sort of making it happen. And I think I think some of the neighboring towns have sort of started off with a pilot program, let's try it at this one school, especially with the composting, a little more complicated than recycling. But they have to, but I know that we've continued to have discussions with the superintendent. I know he's open to it, but the more you hear from the constituents, right, the schools are there to serve the students and the families, that they're in support of it and they think it would be great. So your club should really, go ahead and speak to that. But you're right, it's completely doable. It's just sort of figuring out the details, and I think that it would be great. And again, it's really the way of life going forward. That this is what we have to do with our waste, and so might as well start doing it while in school. So that's great. Any other ideas before I sort of pick on James again? Yes.
Hi, I wanted to like go back when we were talking about how like you can implement more like education in like schools.
Yep.
Through students, and it made me remember how recently there was this PSA about driving safety in our school, and it was like really interactive, and like a lot of the high schools enjoyed that. So I was thinking what we could probably do something similar, have something about climate change and climate action about that, but in an interactive sense, because a lot of students seem to resonate with it. And honestly, you can start for something smaller, like have it be for elementary schools first, because if they like learn these like habits and like about climate change more younger, then they're more inclined to like care about it and like actually see how it affects their life. So that was just a thought.
That's an excellent thought, and I love that. I will say I've heard from this. It's a regional nonprofit called Neponsit River Watershed Association, which is very much focused on climate change. They apparently are, to some extent, a presence in some of the elementary schools, and they do have an interactive thing that they do. We could sort of talk with them. I'm in touch with them. I could talk with them more about what they do and can they do it at the higher levels as well, because they have the staff and they could maybe do the programming for both middle school level and also for high school level. I also would want to point out that the other committee in town that I'm on, which is a longstanding committee called the Energy and Sustainability Committee, we've been having a film series and have successfully at the library. And I would actually love to be in communication with you guys, because we're actually about to maybe pick another film about what film might interest you, what might actually get some high school students to turn out, and have you help pick it, and then have people turn out, and there's always free baked goods. So it's great. It's at the library, and usually it's like 2 hours or less, and then like a film and then a little bit of discussion. But so those are like 2 action steps for me. So I will contact Neponsit River and about their curriculum, and then also look about the film thing. But I found that if it's just me going and showing up with I have my nice handouts and my list of things, which are really meaningful, but I will tell you, people don't find that very exciting. So I think something more creative and something more interactive is a great idea. So that's why I'll sort of reach out to this other organization and see if they have some ideas or programming. I could also reach out to Canton. I'm in touch with the sort of similar committee in Canton and in Sharon. They both have really active communities in these issues, and see if they have any suggestions. So I don't put that on my to-do list, but those are all great examples. And you're right, I think students are ready and want to have the discussion and want to learn. You have to format it in a way that they want to show up and feel like they get a chance to ask their questions. And sometimes when you're immersed in this, you start to speak with the jargon, and then you lose people because they don't know what the heck you're talking about. So we don't want to do that. But those are great ideas.
I also think I have another idea we can do. You said about the library, how you're picking up movies and like baked goods and stuff. And I was thinking maybe we can like the students can make Google slides on climate change and stuff, and like ways to prevent it and other things like that. And then we can maybe like how the students like plant something, like I don't know, something that like flowers or like something of that matter that like will get them to learn more about like gardening and other things like that as well.
That sounds excellent, and you happen to be sitting next to a gardener who has turned to focusing on pollinator plants as opposed to just what I used to usually buy. Much more focused on that and focused on pesticide-free lawn care. So I would love to be involved in that. But as far as the student side, it's actually pretty fun, because I've done it since I've been involved in these committees, to put together like a PowerPoint. Once you learn, which I'm sure you guys know how to do that, right? A PowerPoint. Put together a PowerPoint, and you gather, not just garbage that's on the internet, but people with, real legitimate sources, such as the EPA or state government, about this issue, this issue, and you can sort of, I like the idea of you guys putting on your own programming where we come and help you and we give you some materials or we do whatever. But if it's more of like student-led discussion, that might be just much more inviting to students. But it's kind of fun to put the PowerPoint together, and it's really educational, and there's great, visuals and graphics out there that you can use, that you could sort of, be part of the program. So again, we would love to help you do that and plan something for that, which obviously would be next fall because your school's is it over yet? Or
No.
2 more weeks? 2 more weeks or something like that? So these are all good ideas. Excellent.
She does have something.
Oh, yes, thank you. If you just want to project more, I'll repeat what you said, but if you just want to project more to make sure that I can hear you.
It's actually two ideas. The first one is like, I think that the people like usually they don't know a lot about what's going on in the climate, how this affect the health, not only the climate, and like actually really them helping at home. This could actually help like to do something better, and like with the education part, we could do like billboards and like maybe put more incentive flyers, like showing via images, like cartoons, like how a problem may affect not only them but their families and their health as well, like in health. The second one is like I also saw in other countries they have some recycle cans at home, like every citizen they have it in like, and they know how to separate the trash.
Right.
And they do it not because like somebody forced them, like they are responsible for it, and they do it because they want to. And as an incentive to have them, we could like put something like incentive, return them something.
Right.
So like if you give back a can, you get a cent or something, a quarter, or something like they do in the stores, like big stores.
Right.
BJ's, they have this machine that if you bring back the can, they give you like a ticket, something you can use in buying stuff. I guess the first one she's trying to say is do like a short video, but in a very funny, more expressive way, like it could be in a cartoon or something where it be catchy and really welcoming for people of their age to be able to be attracted to it. I think I've seen a video like that, like it was on a recycle program, like you're doing this not because you get something out of it, because you're aware that this is for my future, so I'm doing this to preserve my future. And you see how people line up, like I say, the blue bin is this. It's kind of like an explanatory video, and very educated, but very short, very succinct.
Yes. And that would be fabulous. And that would be fabulous if high school students want to take the video. You know what I mean? Whether between the people who, I think that your high school has all those tools and training to be able to take and edit a video, and run it by a focus group and see what you could do with it to make it approachable. And then you can promote it at the high school. You could promote it with SPS News, maybe with a link. Oh, go to YouTube and see our video on this, or see our video on that.
And you could probably say this is sponsored by the
Recycling Club, right. But and also just so people know, household people, that recycling is now every week in town. If you go to the Department of Public Works at DPW, you get a free recycling bin. And you could even get a bigger bin and get a little recycling tag on it, but they pick it up every week now, so they make it very easy for everybody. What I don't know, and what a difficult issue to resolve is if you're a renter or the condos, there's a whole different set of rules. So that's something that it would actually be nice to address in a plan, but it is sort of like when I say the renters, I don't know, if somebody's in a multi-family house, I don't know.
Make it very brief, very short, succinct, get the message across, and for more information, please visit blah, blah, blah. And then when you go on that side, they can get the whole details. Because when you put such clips, it should be short, not more than a minute. People don't have time to go through something that it's really the shorts, when you go on YouTube, you see a lot of shorts. If it's quick, fast, the message is delivered in 1 minute, then you have a lot of views. And you want people to be able to watch it to the end so that it actually counts.
Yes.
And you're probably better off with TikTok than YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right, good point. Right, TikTok. Okay, and I will know that Rachel was already interested in doing some kind of video on composting with
These people can help.
Oh, I know, SMAC can help, and SMAC has absolutely been very supportive of everything.
Absolutely.
But Rachel wanted to use the, let's call her the composting lady from DEP. So she's a volunteer with Department of Environmental Protection, but she's a volunteer, and she came to a local Green Fest, and she had it all laid out there, like the composting, and she is like the master composter, and the visuals were all right there. Like if you got her, and she has the brochures and the posters and everything, and somebody did like a, whatever it may be, 1 minute or 3 minute of that also would be great. So you're right, TikTok, anything to do with all of these issues sounds like a fabulous way to sort of get people's attention, to build
I
knowledge.
can literally just imagine that message. I already have it in my mind, like, stop.
So there's your producer.
1 minute could make a whole difference if you can just stop, recycle, reuse.
Right.
It's a whole lot. Like, I can literally picture that video going out there.
Right.
Something short, really sweet, and good. So that's great idea.
Yeah, those are all great ideas. And I'm just so happy you guys came and are sharing your ideas, which is the whole hope. And I have Angelica, you have something to add? Hello? Is your hand up?
Yes, hi. Sorry I was late to the meeting, but you mentioned movie suggestions for the library.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if you wanted specifically nonfiction, but I watched this really good movie in 8th grade, so a couple years ago, called 6 Degrees Could Change the World. And I thought it was really interesting the way it presented global warming and climate change. And it could be a really good documentary to show.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's great. I'm not familiar with that one. That's great. Thank you. So it obviously made an impact because you remembered it, which is great.
Yeah, it was really good.
Wow. You've got a lot of ideas, which is excellent. Anything else? Oh, before we talk about item C here, just anything else? Aisha's right here in person. Thank you for being here in person. Do you have anything else to add? Either we went over some specifics, and of course you could weigh in with the, I'll send out a list. Michael or I will send out a list of the numbers I've narrowed it down to. I have it in my writing, and then you can sort of comment back. But any sense of the things you think are the most important things for us to add in, and then I'll go to James next.
Oh, I was actually following online while I was driving in, so
Okay.
I was hearing you reel them out.
Okay.
A couple of those that you mentioned I already took down, but the one that really tickles my fancy the most is the tree canopy.
The tree canopy.
And that's it for me right now.
Okay. Right, and to me, it's sort of like the tree canopy, both, planting more trees, but protecting our mature trees, which are pulling all the carbon out of the atmosphere, also providing cooling to help when you have the heat waves that we will have more of. So yeah, that's just invaluable. And it's also just kind of inherently appealing to everybody and non-threatening. Some people don't like to talk about climate change, but if you talk about preserving nature, preserving the tree canopy, that kind of thing, that's good. So James, anything to add or comments on the list or things that you think don't make any sense? I will say that Rachel and I have a potential plan when the list is narrowed to meet with somebody in town, whether that's Mr. Coulter or Mark Tisdale, and say, here's what we're thinking of, just give us some feedback. If you have problems with any of this, we'd rather know sooner rather than later.
Well, I think it'd be a good idea to meet with Superintendent of Public Works and the town manager for the most part. And you're welcome to extend an invitation to the town engineer, who's the assistant town manager.
Yeah.
But I would start with Tom and Paul, and then invite Mark as well, if you'd like to.
I would love to.
I wanted to talk to you about item 63, which I think is a good idea. It was one of my choices to support the expansion of local agriculture to increase local food production, ensure healthy ecosystems and soil quality in the town, support ecological soundness. To educate people in the idea of soil conservation is important, and also gardening, community gardening. We have community gardening set up at the Reynolds Farm and that's on Pine Street, at the intersection of Pine Street and Pleasant Street. It would be good to promote community gardening, especially at that location or any other location possibly in town. But that ties into composting and the promotion of composting and the education of folks about composting, which is, I think it's very important, because I don't think folks know how to composting. It's more of a passion, and folks that are gardeners would appreciate composting because it increases their productivity. And also it's a way to manage organic waste in every household, and to just educate folks on how to do that so that they're self-sustainable in managing that solid waste stream. I think is very important in the community. And I wanted to expand upon that concerning composting units. I got a nice thank you note from Jane Mooney of the First Parish Universalist Church, who just had the Green Fair, and they had Eric Studer there was talking about beekeeping and promoting beekeeping in the community, which I think is another very good idea, because it ties into community gardens and green space and so forth, pocket parks, and promoting sustaining pollinators in the community. Right. To promote like beekeeping, I think is a very good idea, because it has impact on our food supply, and it's important and vital to agriculture and you know, just growing vegetables for personal use. But I wanted to point that out. But Jane sent me a lovely letter, and she was thanking me on behalf of the First Parish Universal Church, and she's looking forward to partnering with us again next year to help us sell composting units and rain barrels. I wanted to just point that out to the committee. She was very good to work with, and Mark Rassicott purchased a composting unit, which was very nice. I was happy to do that, and we sold multiple rain barrels as well. It was a good win-win situation, and it promoted the agenda of the Climate Action Plan Committee as well, as you know, Molly.
Yes, it was excellent, and I also want to say, so April, who is the sort of works with Paul at the DPW, and she's focused on the waste issue. She had a lot of interesting updated information. I'm going to try to get her to come to one of our next meetings so she can talk to us in person. But they're really doing a lot of positive things, and just sort of have the right framework. So I'm really was happy to talk to her. So that's great. Thanks for your comments, James. And Janet, do you have any other ideas of what you want to emphasize or priorities as far as this huge list we're working with?
You're muted, Janet.
The more people talk, the more it makes me think of more things. So, and some of the stuff was already answered. I'm glad to know that there is a club. I didn't realize what these girls were from, and I didn't know if they were asked to come or
they were invited to come.
They were invited. Okay, that's all. That was one. That's a short question, because I didn't know that was happening. The other thing is, well, actually, it was more than one thing, but I'll in order of when my thoughts were, because I think while we were listening to them, we actually started to think of some of our own stuff and expand upon what they said. So I like the idea of education. I have an 18-month-old grandson, so I like the fact, I don't know if I would start as young as preschool, but he's not quite there yet. But I think I like the fact that we break it down as far as throwing things away in the beginning, and just getting further and further into expanding on why you would do that as they get older, and have them come up with things like whether it's, I like the arts, so that's probably my thing. I like doing things with drama and with music and all kinds of things. Maybe we can have something where they present. They can be part of presenting, whether it's something. We can include the high school students in some of the things that we do during the year, showing that, it's starting right, or I think there's a middle schooler there, right? Is this all?
I think they're all high schoolers. Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. Okay, sorry. I didn't catch it. It was sort of hard to hear some of the conversation. But, just to have them, as they get older, they find out more and make it more interesting for them, kids their age, as well as adults, so they can see, it starts from, not necessarily from day one, but from, different points.
Sure.
And then I just think anytime you have a community thing, whether it be, decide whether all the elementary schools or all the middle school or high school, maybe you don't want to make it so big, maybe you want to break it down into different categories. And the only other thing I think, because I'm probably going to think of something later, as I always tell them when I interview for a job, is have the high schoolers look at maybe not the 88 things, but maybe the ones that you broke down, and see what their focus might be.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, I think I'm share that. I have some email addresses here, and we can share that around and
So,
see what makes sense to them.
That's my nutshell version of what I was thinking.
That's good.
That's a law school term, sorry.
Thank you. All right, so I think what we have, oh, go ahead. Oh, James, please.
Oh, thanks. I'm sorry. I wasn't quite finished before Molly, but one of the things I wanted to mention was about regard to our priority list, not to be long-winded, but as far as electrovolt charging station development of the phase 3 electrovolt charging stations in the community, we should partner with National Grid to learn about the electrical infrastructure in order to be able to plan and prepare locations and select locations for phase 3 electrovolt charging stations in town. This is a big part of developing or evaluating our present electrical infrastructure for the siting of these facilities, because these phase 3 electrovolt charging stations are the ones that will charge vehicles the fastest, but they have to be compatible with the transmission lines in the immediate vicinity, and we need to know how close they are to public property where we could potentially have phase 3 electrovolt charging stations. So I just wanted to mention that to you as well. That was one of my comments.
And can I just say on that, you're absolutely right. It's all about planning and working with National Grid, but that's where Kathy Stanley comes into play, because that's her field.
Yeah.
So if we make sure that's part of the plan, and quite frankly, I should invite Kathy the next meeting or the meeting after that, once we have these narrowed down, to touch base with the ones that she's already sort of got her finger in that pie, and she can update us on what's going on. So that's a critical.
I'm aware Bill Roth is also on the pulse of this too. So that's very, you can discuss it with him and reinforce this notion to help make it one of our immediate priorities, so that Kathy, Bill, this committee, we're all on the same page, and so we educate ourselves so that we can discuss these things in public forum, educate folks, and help promote these goals in our climate action plan.
So I do have a question. When we go to town meeting and we make all this proposal, do they have, in terms of priority, money-wise, value-wise, what the community people are actually craving for? Do they have such kind of like a category of how they set them? Because we have like a bunch of things that people really need. So one will come under the priority of this is high priority for the town. Another will come as high priority as a need from the people that live in the town. There will be some other sets of priority that will come that this will add value to the town as a place. So again, I want us to take a look at these things that we're putting down and intend to, I don't know, maybe categorize them in those ways before we actually make this presentation to the town meeting.
All right, so those are really good points. As you said, is like, things for the people, and then things for the town and from the town, and different interesting ways to look at it. So the plan itself doesn't go before town meeting. There might be elements and steps of the plan or implementation that might have to go to town meeting, which kind of leads to the next subject. Okay. But I think what it is trying to get the select board to agree to the plan, to vote to support the plan, and it's going to be like a multi-step, and this year and that year, and yes, some things will need funding and some things won't need funding, so that's where it gets complicated. But I think most of these things are not going to require a town meeting vote, but some of them will. Okay. And you're right, and then it's all about presentation and showing how, we're not trying to burden people, we're trying to actually help people. Yeah. And help,
Because we all live in Stoughton. We all want this town to grow. There are some things, no matter how much we don't agree with it, that is going to make this town become a boom. Like everybody wants to have a town where they can easily drive in and have an EV charging station to charge. want. Everybody wants to live in a town where they feel safe and they know that they have good quality air. That's two.
Yeah.
So again, presentation is very key.
Right.
And the level of priority and how we categorize them when we put them before select board should be something we should be looking at while we're making all these recommendations.
And that's a really good point, and I would say that the general sort of end game is not to have a document that people don't want to work with,
Yeah.
but to have a document where there's implementation and progress and implementation and further
Exactly.
progress. And you're right, that is presentation, that is organized, and that's also, sort of judgment calls, what we include and what we don't include. If we're ready to just finalize this section, the last thing I had was the climate leadership status. So following up on some prior conversations, the state has different categories. You can be a green community. Stoughton has been a green community for many years. And in fact, if you look at a recent list of the different green communities and the grants that have been given out, Stoughton is on the list. It's not even a huge list. And we're one of the few ones that got like $200,000. That's because we have Kathy Stanley, who's leveraging the Green Communities grants. The next step up to be eligible for additional significant grants, and now there are multi-millions of dollars behind that, is quote, Green Communities Leadership Status. And there's 5 major criteria. I think I sent people an email.
6.
Thank you, even better, somebody who can count to 6. Of which the first 3 are kind of easier, we're already there. Then it gets to be the heavy lifting and complex, one of which was the decarbonization roadmap, which I would like to take back to MAPC. To what extent are they going to start to do that? In other words, how do we get the buildings in town off of fossil fuels? How do we get them onto renewable fuel sources? The other one is the zero emission preference policy for the vehicle fleet. And if you look for that, that's a lot of work. And now I'm forgetting what the final one was. Oh, it's a specialized building code.
The stretch.
Yeah, so there are 3 complex elements of that, which we definitely want to dig into conversation with MAPC about. And actually, my other committee, the Sustainability Committee, is having somebody come with the state to talk about that in a couple of weeks. So I will hopefully have more information, but what I can tell you right now is that it's complex. And that would require a serious level of commitment from multiple people in town to actually try to get that. And then you have to say, that's the carrot, and what you get is you might get $1 million to do this or $500,000 to do that. And you continuously are improving your buildings as far as lowering energy costs and reducing greenhouse gas emissions and et cetera, and the same thing with the fleet. I will tell you, in the interest of full disclosure, I did have a conversation with the police chief about the fleet because the issue came up at town meeting because, once again, they always buy new cruisers at X miles. I don't replace my cars at that type of miles, but they're the police. And we had a very nice conversation, just the 2 of us, and she said that she's thinking about the issue, she's looking into the issue, she's in a discussion with somebody from California where they have some state mandates, whether it's 2030 or 2035, that they all have to switch to EVs for cruisers. And she's saying that they're concerned because of the challenges because, as she explained, they have like computers in their vehicles. They have like things that suck energy in a way that our vehicles don't. So I said, well, that really is very complex. I mean, honestly, you would almost probably get to the same place if you could have 50 to 100 people in town just buy EVs,
Yes,
which
so
is
again,
simpler.
That's where I was going. So
Yeah.
if we want to make a head count of how many EVs we have here in Stoughton as a community,
Right.
we're making a huge progress. I can tell you that.
Right.
Versus where we started from.
Right.
And then recently I just saw people putting on solars in their house. So again, in terms of that, I wouldn't really have any fears. Like a lot of people had fears at the beginning with the administration change, like am I still gonna get the incentives, moving to solar? That fear has been, calmed, and people still know that the incentive is still available. They can still get it from, the state. So
Right.
people are still making that switch to solar energy, and that would be something I wish we could do a head count on and be able to say, hey, we got this.
I feel like some climate action plans reference both tracking the solars on people's houses and tracking the EVs. And the EV is probably pretty easy, probably the state, because that's your driver's license, tells you whether it's an EV or not. There's probably a way to do that, but I feel like I've seen
So
it.
that your driver's license?
The
No,
plates.
but I didn't driver's license.
Your registration?
Yeah.
No, I meant the license plate.
Yeah.
So the state obviously knows when you have an EV because the state gives you a license plate that says
It says
EV on
Oh, it
it.
does? I didn't know.
Oh
Yes, it
yeah,
does.
oh yeah. If you look at people's license
If you-
plate,
if-
either
yeah.
says EV or VE.
Yeah.
But in any event, it's telling you
Yeah.
what is ahead of you is an electric vehicle.
Exactly.
And I think for plug-in hybrids too, it has the EV on it. So
It does.
my husband has a plug-in hybrid and it says EV.
I have one.
Okay, well, to talk about it.
He doesn't see.
Something to recommend.
In any event, so that might be something that could be tracked. So again, lots of great ideas to share with MAPC, which again, they've been down this path, they've drafted these plans. But I just wanted to point out that one of the goals on the plan, like number 2 or something, is to achieve climate leadership status. It's a complex, multi-layered, multi-year thing. I mean, you could dedicate yourself to do it, and then 2 or 3 years later, you could maybe not meet some of the criteria because there's some of them are long-term, but you're still making progress, right? If sort of that's a goal, hopefully. All right. Any questions about climate leadership status or anything else? Because we're about to just give a couple announcements at the end, and then about to close up our meeting.
Great discussion, Stephanie.
Oh, absolutely. Well, having the students here just been a breath of fresh air. It's been excellent. The only other things I want to point out is that this Sunday, June 8th, at the First Parish is a Pride event. I'll be tabling there from 1 to 5. If anybody wants to come table with me.
1 to 5.
1 to 5, yeah. Knock wood, it'll be nice weather. Also be tabling at Juneteenth, which is June 19th, and I forget the location, whether that's at the high school.
High school, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. And anybody's welcome to come. Just trying to gather names of people who are interested. And also we have a climate survey, which I wish I had one to give to you guys, but I'll email it to you. MAPC developed a sort of what's your climate story survey, which is actually a good one to also ask your parents or grandparents about, because some people will be like, oh yeah, I remember what it was like 50 years ago, or whatever they've observed in their travels, or whatever it might be as far as what climate change has affected. I think there's the 2 things. So I'll also circulate just a question to get people's availability for a July and August meeting, probably just 1 meeting each month, because I know people are on vacation, and then we'll try to get those arranged. But I do appreciate the people coming in person. I think that is always awesome when you can see people in person, easier to discuss. And appreciate the students attending. So I will be taking, we will really appreciate the ideas that you had, and to an extent you want to sort of, as you're with your club, sort of hone in on 1 or more of your ideas to plan for the fall, or multiple projects to plan for the fall. We'd like to help and support you and do that as well. And then meanwhile, you'll get an email about whatever the films are. There'll hopefully be a summer film and a fall film too at the library. And actually when I type in sustainability documentaries, there's lots. And some of them are very specific on one issue, and it's also like very convincing as far as sharing that with other students. It's like a picture is worth 1,000 words. Once you see a picture of like a landfill, which is like the size of a mountain, it's like, okay, we're gonna do something about this, or whatever the issue is, plastics in the ocean. So those are terrific. Any other business that's new business? And is there anybody, we're happy to hear from our high school students who are on our agenda. Is there anybody else who showed up for public comment? And I don't think I see anybody else, so does anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, anybody second the motion? So Aisha second, all right. So Janet, motion to adjourn.
What? What was the question?
Motion to adjourn, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Aisha?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
I vote yes. And James?
Yes.
Okay, thank you everybody for being.
When is the next meeting?
The next meeting is to be determined. It'll be in July, but I will.
Send an email.
I'll get some dates from when. It would be great if we could get most of the people here. So I'm going to do one of those things where I get 16 different emails as to a couple of dates.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody. I know what I wanted to say. All right, good night.
Good night, everyone.
There's one.
Good night.